Our YouTube, it has been a while, but we are back, of course, here to talk about some PlayStation randomly. There's a rumor going around from Andy Robinson of Video Game Chronicle that PlayStation is working on some like kind of deep cut, obscure IPs. Obviously, kind of a vague statement because it's kind of down to what he considers deep cut, I suppose, right? What does he think that is versus what I think that is, what you think that is. The name sounds familiar. We'd previously talked about Andy Robinson on the channel because he was one of a few people out there that's kind of hyping up the Game Awards as being like this really big event, right? And I guess it's up to you whether or not the Game Awards was a big event. I'm going to play the clip really quickly here and talk about it, I guess.
Without being an insider dick, I know of at least a couple that they're working on, like the deep cut old IP stuff, kind of in the mold that you're talking about, really, like maybe smaller games, maybe like supplementing their big blockbusters.
Yeah, again, kind of vague because it's like, what does Andy Robinson consider, a deep cut, but also what is an old IP to him? Like, what's the cutoff for that? What's considered old? Because I've seen people suggest, another Jak and Daxter game that's always something people want, and it's been a long time, right? I think the last one was 2009 with The Lost Frontier. So it's considered kind of an older IP at this point, I would say, but is that a deep cut? Not really, because people always want those games. Kind of in the same vein with stuff like Sly Cooper and Infamous and Killzone and Resistance. These are ones that are pretty commonly suggested, that I've seen suggested since this kind of like rumors come out. People want like another one of those games, and it's like, are those really deep cuts? They might be like older IPs at this point for sure, but are they really deep cuts and people always want those? So a lot of the people on the websites that are quoting him are leaving out the part where he talks about them probably being like smaller games, right? So it's like whenever people speculate like another Jak and Daxter or Killzone or something like that, that's like, those are like bigger games. I feel like there'd be a lot of like marketing and emphasis put on like a brand new Jak and Daxter game, right? So it also kind of comes down to what do you consider a smaller game when it comes to game development, I guess. Like, I don't know, it's kind of a weird thing. I did see when Geeky shared their tweet about this, they used an image of Ape Escape, which Ape Escape's, kind of those are like kind of smaller, less complicated games. It's definitely an older IP. Is it a deep cut? I don't know. There's like fucking 14 Ape Escape games or something if you look at the Wikipedia. There's been an Ape Escape game that came out after the last fucking Jak and Daxter game, so is that really a deep cut? Maybe by modern day standards, something like Ape Escape is a bit of a deep cut franchise. If that's the case, I'm down for another one, of course. It's a franchise that I do like. I wouldn't say love. I definitely played like the first two back in the day, but the last time I played an Ape Escape game, I could not possibly tell you. But hey, they want to make another one? Sure. I did see it suggested too that maybe they could do like an Ape Escape remastered collection sort of thing, maybe just like a trilogy, Ape Escape 1, 2, and 3, which I think is definitely like in the realm of possibility, more so than just, like a new game or something. When I first kind of see the headlines about this without actually looking into it and specifically what he says, I was like, Final Fantasy Tactics. But of course, I would not consider that a deep cut at all. It's definitely an older franchise at this point, and we already have the Rumour remaster anyways, and I assume he's probably specifically talking about like first-party type shit when it comes to PlayStation, but that's definitely what I immediately went to. I want to kind of continue down the Square Enix rabbit hole. I immediately jumped to the Parasite Eve, goddammit, Symbiogenesis, that fucking AI shit that we got a couple years ago from Square Enix that we thought was going to be a remaster and it wasn't, or a remake or something. I definitely would love another one of those. Or at the very least, like give me like some sort of like really good visual remake or remaster of the first Parasite Eve game. That's all I want. Ultimately, I don't really care about a fucking sequel. One game I will always mention every time we talk about stuff like this is Legends of Legaia, one of my favorite RPGs, one of my favorite games of all time that I believe is actually owned by Sony, because it was made by Control back in the day, and that was like under their like, kind of a development umbrella back then. So I believe, even though like the IP doesn't really exist anymore or whatever, I assume they actually own the rights to it. So like, just give me a fucking port of that game. The first Legend of Legaia, the second one sucks. I do own the second one still on PS2. Trash ass game, but let me get the first one again. Just a port. If you want to remaster it, you want to remake it even, fuck yeah, dude. But just put it on modern platforms. That's all I fucking care about. I don't believe it's even available on anything. Like, you can't even get it on like Steam or anything. Like, it's just like this weird like dead IP that you can only play like through emulation or buying like a really expensive like secondhand copy usually. It won't happen because I doubt it's anywhere remotely on their fucking radar for ports, remasters, remakes, anything like that. But dude, I just fucking want it. God damn it. It's like emulating all the time every time I want to play it. I've seen people mention stuff like MotorStorm, Wipeout, Gravity Rush. People often mention Legend of Dragoon, which is definitely an older IP. Is it a deep cut, though? Man, I don't know. Because it's one that people always want, right? They want either a remake, remaster. I don't know if people necessarily clamoring for a sequel of this game, but I mean, I wouldn't expect people to be against that either. Really, there's not a whole lot to talk about when it comes to this like topic right now, just because if we're talking about, deep cut stuff, old stuff, it's very subjective, but also it's like there's so many fucking franchises and IPs out there that are just dead, that haven't had anything for a long time. So it's like, how do you even begin to speculate on this shit? We can just talk about things that we want, obviously, but it's like, ultimately, it's going to be probably like some shit I've never even heard of. Like, one of the guys in the video for VGC mentioned Fat Princess, and has actually seen that suggested under Genki's thread on Twitter or whatever. I've never even fucking heard of that shit, but that's like relevant enough that I've seen multiple people mention it. So maybe that's what it is, Fat Princess. Of course, this is where I pass off to you guys, who are a hell of a lot more knowledgeable in this shit than I am. While I have been on the PlayStation platform off and on throughout my life, and I did, grow up playing PS1, PS2, it's not like I branched out and played a bunch of games. So, like, a lot of the shit I would have played growing up is, like, AAA type shit, right? So, I don't really know what kind of obscure franchises are out there for sure. I'm just kind of curious what you guys think would be, like, possible candidates for, like, deep cut, old IPs, potentially kind of smaller games, according to Andy Robinson. What those might be. What kind of, franchises they might want to revisit in the modern day. A little bit of a different video for us today because we mostly talk about Square Enix and Final Fantasy and shit. But anytime I get the opportunity to mention Legend of Legaia in a video, I'm going to do it. Anyways, that's the video. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Social networks in the description below. Follow me on Twitter, @DavidYT. That's it.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more, and nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Logain, or leave it like Cobain.